Hey everyone. Today we're gonna talk about just some more function stuff and arrow function stuff. So we were talking about functions last time. Before we might have talked about parameters a little bit, but we're gonna go into it today. So we have the function. We can return something from the function, but we usually want to do something inside of the function, and sometimes we want to use variables or values that are already existing somewhere else. So if we want to use something inside of the function that exists somewhere else, we can pass it as a parameter. We call it, it's just like a parameter is like a value that we send to a function, and we put that parameter inside of these parentheses here. So we can say number apples. It's kind of like declaring a variable. We just set the name to what we want, and then it can be reused in here. So let's just return this to make sure that it's working. And we get the 6 down there. So if we want to pass I'll show you an example of how it would be done. So we could have number apples out here is equal to 8. Okay, hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, so we have the number of apples, except it doesn't have to, let's actually, we'll name this something else. Apples count 1. Okay, so the parameter that, like the parameter name that we give for the function here, it's just used inside of this function. When we actually pass the parameter later, we're going to use the actual variable name that's outside of the function. So we have apples count 1, for example. We can put that into here. And let me just type this all out first, then we can explain better. So we could instead do something like this. So in this function, we're going to pass the parameter number of apples, and then in here, it's going to take that parameter and insert it into this string. So what's happening here in the function that we've written down here is that we got the function is running apples count, okay, and then we're passing the variable apples count 1 that we declared up here into this function, and then that value apples count 1 is actually going to act in place of this number of apples parameter that we have in the function here. So apples count 1 gets sent here. It's like having 8 here, and then that's like having 8 there and then there. So every place in the function where this number of apples parameter appears, it's going to be replaced by the value that we pass in the parentheses in the place where we call the function. And the parameter, we just have a name for it here to give us like an easier way to understand the what that parameter is actually going to be doing, because we can't just pass a single value like 8. It needs to be we need to be able to pass different values in, so that's why we are setting a parameter like that instead of just directly a number. But so we can go ahead and run that, and then we can see down here that we're going to get that answer, 8 apples in the barrel. So that is one example, and we can also have like multiple parameters apples count 2 equals 12. Okay, so maybe there's two different apples counts. We can change this, like we can put multiple parameters in for a function and we can separate them with a comma. So we would do number of apples 1, we could do number of apples 2, and then down here we could just add them together. This might be a little confusing here. So it's going to add, it should add up the total number of apples from both of those counts and then return that value to us. So this way we can use multiple parameters and the function will do the work for us, where it's like taking in multiple values and just adding them up for us. And that actually didn't work. Let me do it like this. This might have not been a great way to write this here. Okay. So we go like this instead. It's still not working. Oh, I didn't pass the count in here. That's why. There we go. So you see, it's a little more clear, like here. Anyway, this way we're creating a total variable where it's adding up the number of apples for each of these parameters, and then we're just returning that inside of the string here. And so this way we can pass as many parameters as we want to our function, and we can get back a value out of that. So yeah, this is a basic example of function parameters. What else is there? And something else we can talk about is arrow functions. So this was parameters. Let's just go ahead and actually I'll keep that in. We can do this again using arrow functions. And so arrow functions in JavaScript, it's a kind of shorter way to write the function syntax. So let's do arrow functions down here. So arrow functions is basically like we can take this function and just do the same thing we did up there, but we'll do it a little differently down here. So we have the syntax is going to look like this. Let me show you, like var apples count is equal to so this is the arrow syntax. So you can see here we have this little arrow there. We are using that instead of the function keyword, so it's kind of a shorter way to write JavaScript functions. So if we want to have the same exact result there for using the arrow function, we could do like this, like that, and then we just would copy all over this inside of the arrow function syntax. Okay, and let's see if we can get that to work there. Okay, so we'll run that, and we're getting the same result you can see there. So that's the arrow function syntax working. The thing about arrow function syntax also is that we don't have to have a return keyword if we are using just one line, which we are not here, but actually I think we can if we try and do this again the way I tried to do it the first time. Let me check this. Okay, so if we did like this is a little confusing because it's doing a line break here, but this is kind of all it's all reading this as you know, this is all on one line. So what I'm trying to say is that the arrow syntax can return just one value if you're just using the whole function is on one line. So we can, if we go ahead and return that, we can see that there are 20 apples in the barrel. We don't need to even use the brackets, and we don't need to use the return keyword like we were using before up here with the regular function syntax. So it's just like it can make things a little bit shorter sometimes using that that kind of syntax. So yeah, that's basically function parameters and arrow syntax. And in another video, I will show you guys a project for us to work on today. So thanks for watching.